Hey, here are 5 stupid things I've noticed since last time. Republican debate audience boos the golden rule. You're forgiven if you've forgotten about this one already. This was from like 3 or 4 debates ago, from the one they held on January 16th, the Monday before the South Carolina primary. Ron Paul, who I really enjoyed as the newspaper editor in The Help, suggested that maybe from now on America's foreign policy should just follow the golden rule. And in response, well, I'll just show you.
My point is if another country does to us what we do others, we're not going to like it very much. So I would say that maybe we ought to consider a golden rule in foreign policy. Don't do to other nations what we don't want to have them do to us. So we endlessly bomb these countries, and then we wonder why they get upset with us. And
those people you just heard booing the concept of ethical reciprocity are going to help choose one of the 2 guys who get to run for president this fall. If we even make it that far, that is. For fuck's sake, world, just end already. Ronald Wineland, leader and self-appointed prophet of some irrelevant podunk church in Ohio, claims that the United States will collapse and there will be a nuclear war prior to the second coming of Christ on May 27th of this year. It's going to be a really busy next couple of months, sounds like. Ronald is merely the latest in a long line of doomsday predictors that also includes Harold Camping, who wrongly predicted the end of the world twice last year. If nothing else, I give him some credit for not being deterred by the fact that every single other person who has ever predicted the end of the world in the whole history of ever has been wrong. But Ronald knows what game he's playing. He knows that smartasses like me are going to make fun of him for his manifestly idiotic prophecy, and he's ready for us.
You know, God says and talks of those who mock him, will you mock me? God says, I'll mock you. In the day of your calamity, I will laugh.
Ronald, you've got a deal. Kentucky cuts education, keeps funding Ark Park. So, answers in Genesis, the ministry that has worked harder to make more Christians dumber than any other organization in the world, is building this Noah's Ark theme park in Kentucky. And the state of Kentucky is giving them a $43 million tax break to help them build it. And the state is spending an additional $11 million to fix up a highway interchange near the site of the park. That's a total of $54 million that it's costing the state to help build the Ark Park. Shaking your head yet? Well, you'll love this next bit. The governor of Kentucky, a Democrat named Steve Beshear, recently announced his proposal for the state's 2012-2013 budget. The budget includes $286 million in cuts, including a 6.4% cut in higher education funding, while preserving the $43 million tax cut and the $11 million highway spending in support of the Ark Park. Beshear himself says he doesn't like the budget. He said when he announced it that he thinks it should include more investment in, quote, our physical and intellectual infrastructure. Well, Mr. Governor of Kentucky, sir, seeing as how you feel that way, perhaps it might be a good idea to cancel the $54 million you were planning on lavishing on the builders of the Ark Park and spend some of that on education. Spend that money on building up your state's intellectual infrastructure rather than destroying it. Local news suddenly notices sex and violence in comic books. Channel 5 in Washington, D.C., the Fox affiliate I grew up watching, recently ran a story on its 11 o'clock news breathlessly detailing how smutty and gory DC Comics has been since its New 52 relaunch. They even got a modern-day Frederick Wortham to warn about the dangers of comic books that are too violent and oh so sexy.
Critics worry the once family-friendly genre has gone too far. Psychologists point out the overexposure to sex and violence for young children can encourage aggression.
I think too many kids would be put in harm's way, or at least at risk.
You know, sex and violence in superhero comics are nothing new, and the relaunch was like 4 months ago, so the timing of this story puzzles me a bit. If I was going to complain about something DC Comics had done recently, it would be their new logo. Look at that thing. Looks like somebody's final project for their community college graphic design course. What was wrong with the old one? Or the older old one even? Newt's turn again, only maybe for real this time. I'll admit, at first I was a little upset when I realized that Newt Gingrich had surpassed Mitt Romney to become the frontrunner for the Republican presidential nomination. After all, a lot of people, including me, have been predicting with Ronald Wineland-like confidence that it was going to be Mitt Romney to lose to Barack Obama in the general election this fall because it was Mitt's turn. But once I accepted the fact that I may have been wrong and got over the shock and bitterness, I came to realize that the GOP nominating Newt Gingrich makes perfect sense. After all, he's a smug, anachronistic, undisciplined, race-baiting, lying, self-destructive, hypocritical crybaby with no chance in hell of winning the general election. In other words, he's the perfect candidate for the 21st century Republican Party. How could they even think of nominating anybody else? The hardest part is only picking 5. Catch you next time.